Okay, welcome back to Protecting Every Future's Kitchen Table Conversation Series. Protecting Every Future is a community initiative of the American Council of Life Insurers, where we bring experts to the table to have important conversations about retirement, savings, and our future. Today, we want to discuss financial literacy, especially how leaders in Washington are supporting comprehensive financial education for families and communities throughout all stages of life. I am very excited to welcome Congresswoman Young Kim, who proudly represents California's 40th District. Congresswoman Kim has an extensive resume on the topic, currently in the House of Representatives. The Congresswoman serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, the House Financial Services Committee, where she serves as Vice Chairwoman of the Subcommittee on National Security, Illicit Finance, and International Financial Institutions. She also serves as the co-chair of the Women in STEM Caucus, the Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation Caucus, and the Maternity Care Caucus. In addition to her incredible work in DC and California, Representative Kim is a small business owner herself, community leader, mother, grandmother, and one of the first Korean American women ever to serve in Congress. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. We're thrilled to talk to you about this today.
Thank you, David, for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. And financial literacy, as you know, is both of deep personal interest to you, but of incredible interest to the life insurance industry, where we're helping people manage the risks in their lives throughout their lives. So, with that, let's dive in a little bit and let's talk about your views on financial literacy, why you think it's important. Research shows that people with very high levels of financial literacy are more than 4 times as likely to have emergency savings sufficient to cover even a month's of living expenses, much more than those with lower levels of financial literacy. As co-chair of the Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation Caucus, can you tell us what drives you on this topic about financial literacy and education around it? And can you tell us more about the bipartisan congressional caucus that you lead with Representative Joyce Beatty from Ohio?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And anytime I get to talk about financial literacy and the opportunity to educate the general public about the importance of having the knowledge to have the financial education, to better prepare for our future, and to have a understanding of what we can do to better invest so that we can better prepare for eventual retirement. The reason why I was so excited when Joyce Beatty asked me to co-chair this Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation Caucus is because of my particular background. I was a young girl when my family decided to move our family to the United States. So I was born and raised in South Korea in the aftermath of Korean War. So you can imagine I lived in the period where there was a lot of poverty, a lot of challenges. We didn't have much economically. So we didn't know much about the financial literacy at the time in South Korea, which is much different here too. But, also coming here as a young girl, not knowing a word of English and seeing my parents struggling to adjust and assimilate in a new society and a new community, they still didn't speak a word of English even after 30, 40, 50 years after we settled here. So as a young girl, I often found myself having to go down to the groceries with them, go to the bank to open their accounts, go with them to the DMV when they were applying for a driver's license. But that was the extent of my ability to help my parents. When they wanted to start a small business, they didn't know where to go for help. They didn't know enough connections or have any connections in order to get the necessary capital to start their small businesses. So, it was that kind of experience that how we know what we know today, especially for the immigrant communities. This kind of experience inspired me to want to have the ability to raise awareness and find out what resources were available and help people become more financially literate, especially the multilingual communities, the newly arrived immigrants whose primary spoken language is other than English. So I think that's where I had my motivation to be able to work in a sphere of being able to give back. So that's why I got so excited and got involved with the financial literacy education and literacy programs.
That's great. People naturally are anxious about they want to live full, safe lives. They want to have income throughout their lives. And, we come at this topic again from the life insurance industry as not just people who help with one big risk, which is a death in the family, but a whole range of things that people get anxious about, retirement planning, a lifetime income. So again, we come at this as from a natural place of wanting both to help people, provide people with the tools to manage risks in their life, but also financial literacy so they know the right choices for themselves and their families. So with that, can we dive a little bit into Washington world? Can we again, you're a co-chair of the this bipartisan caucus on financial literacy. Can you share some of the discussions you've had among policymakers in DC about the topic, about helping to help the public understand their financial choices, financial protection as a essential piece of their lifetime planning? Where can the government play a role in helping people be more literate themselves about their choices and how to manage their lifetime risks?
Good. As you said, our caucus has a three-pronged mission. One is to engage the members of Congress ourselves to be better informed about the financial literacy programs. And two, we engage the staff that work on the Hill. Oftentimes, when we have events and roundtable discussions about this issue, it is very difficult given the challenges of us working on different committees with different schedules to have all of us come together and have a meaningful roundtable discussion. So we engage the staff that work on the Hill, and we encourage them to go back to their members to be a participant of our eventual financial literacy programs that we will be putting together throughout the year. And third, we want to partner with the private sectors working in the financial industry to be able to utilize their resources that they're already using to inform their community about the financial literacy and education. So I think it starts with our caucus utilizing these three mission goals. And I encourage any of you watching this program to speak with your members and urge them to join our caucus. That's number one. And two, we want to help educate our members' offices so they can apply it to all different sectors and districts across the country. We want to have these financial literacy workshops and roundtable discussions, take it to each of our participating member districts across the country. And I've done that in my district in Orange County and participating with local banks, local credit unions, and different private sectors to be able to have this meaningful dialogue. And also, we have a new director at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Director McKernan. I believe under his leadership, the Bureau will refocus the agency on consumer education. So, if you go right now to the CFPB website, I think you will see that they have a whole section that is dedicated to consumer education. And that was something that Director Chopra, I believe, was failing to focus on. So I believe that Director McKernan will correct it. We also have introduced some of the legislation that would be helpful in this space, and that is the Credit Access and Inclusion Act on the Senate side. I know they already worked on that. And on the House side, I'm working to find a partner to be able to introduce it in this Congress. And the goal of the mission of that Credit Access and Inclusion Act will allow credit reporting agencies to include the payment history of anyone paying cell phone bills, rent, or utility bills on time, without delay, without default, to have their payment history to be included in their credit reports. Bills like that will help Americans grow their credits faster and in turn create their wealth.
Fantastic. You know, when we get into this topic about financial education, financial literacy, oftentimes people think about young people, kids, coming out of college, because we think about education in that way. But really, this is a lifetime journey. I'm still learning a lot. What are your thoughts about not just educating children, but adults in every stage of their life, from buying their first home to family planning, starting a small business, planning for retirement, in even preparing for long-term care? What are your thoughts about ensuring financial preparedness throughout life's big moments, if you will?
Preparing for big moments, planning well for your retirement, and being better informed about the investment choices. All that starts from early on, right? The financial education, let's say in the old days when we started, when I was like in college, also just getting into the career and working in my profession. I worked because my background is also working at the bank. I was a merger and acquisition financial analyst working at the one of the bank holding companies, and we partner with the community to provide the financial education. At the time, we would be working with young adults or adults that need a little more help. And that back then, 2, 3 decades ago, it was about how to write a checkbook, how to invest, how to open up your savings accounts. But that's then, right?
I don't think my kids can write a check, by the way. My kids are in their
Nobody
20s.
writes a check anymore. So the financial literacy and education today is so much different than back then when David, you and I started in this area. So, at that time, banks just handed out pamphlets, and they even talked about how to create your small budget. And and then as the time passed, they created a little CD that was a little more interactive. But again, times are different today. Today, we're teaching students about compound interest, the magic word, compound interest, right? You put in a little bit of money today, forget about it for about 10 years, and then you'll be surprised how much that basic, let's say, $1,000 10 years ago has grown to a bigger amount 10 years later. How to expand savings account, how to invest. I think this is proof that the private sector is taking financial literacy so much more seriously. But where we need to do more work on is, I believe, we need to recognize that we're now living in a very fast-paced, technology-based environment. And that requires educating the general population, both students, young adults, and older adults alike, about the tools and the resources that financial institutions are using. And that includes like talking about what chatbots are, talking about utilizing emerging technologies like AI. There are digital transformation that banks are using to simplify financial concepts, and they provide real-time support and deliver personalized guidance. We need to include these into our financial education programs. And by knowing how to use these tools, we can help individuals make informed decisions about investment options as well. So work with fast-pacing 21st century.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a recent article in the Wall Street Journal, I think it was, about how much financial information people, particularly young people, get through social media, which both is frightening at some level, but also has to be seen also as an opportunity for people, in the private sector, like our companies, as an opportunity to meet people where they are and provide our sources of reliable information in those spaces. You mentioned a little bit about CFPB earlier, and kind of as a final question, what do you think is an appropriate role for the government, particularly the federal government, in this space, in terms of both catalyzing and incentivizing good information out there?
Let's see. First of all, that it was 2003 when Congress created the Financial Literacy and Education Commission that created the mymoney.gov. I think the role of the government is to make these resources available. So I would like to encourage anyone who's watching this program to go to that website, because that website is focused on national financial education. And if they can watch this and go check it out, I think you will find that it is a great resource for children and adults alike. And obviously, we need to focus on, as we discussed earlier, not just focus on educating children, but also adults. At every stage of life, financial literacy is not just something that ends when you graduate from high school or college. It is a lifelong pursuit. And I think, my parents, if they knew what we know and what we're discussing today, they would have been so much more successful sooner if they have more access to financial education. Finally, and I mentioned the mymoney.gov website. I want people to actually utilize this because, again, it serves as a one-stop shop for all things financial literacy from the federal government. And I think it is the best way. And the best part of that website is that you can break it down by life event. And whether you're having a new child, starting building a family, or looking to go back to school, or if you are getting married, there are resources available on mymoney.gov. You can break it down, click on individual topics, and I think that financial literacy and wealth creation will go a long way by looking at these resources that federal government is making available.
That's fantastic. Congresswoman, thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership on this topic. I mean, this is really a place where good information, good advice can change people's lives in a material way. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for participating today. And we look forward to working with you on a whole range of issues around financial literacy and helping people build their futures.
Thank you very much for having me, David.
Take care. Thank you.